Sure, probably most of you have already been through scenarios in the past, but just one maybe a little refresher. There are a couple little tweaks since the beginning of when scenarios was first introduced in the redesign, a couple little updates to it. So maybe you'll just pick up something a little different that might make your life easier when you're doing these. I also had sent out a video to everyone that the SSDT put together on scenarios, and Amanda did a really good job of demonstrating it, but I thought I would do this as a little refresher also. And then if you had any questions, you could ask directly. And if afterwards you would like a little additional help, maybe with your spreadsheets or whatnot, we can work one-on-one together, set up a time and do an individual Zoom if somebody would need that. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, I wanted to let you know that scenarios can be used in two different ways. One is if you want to prepare your next year's proposed amounts, your next year's budgets, or if you need to do budget adjustments for the current year. We're going to start out talking about next year's proposed amounts, and then at the end we'll touch on budget adjustments. But I think that most people use it for next year's proposed amounts, so I want to concentrate on that more so. So we'll start out in the scenario section. And there is two ways that you can create your scenarios, your spreadsheets. Initially, when this first came out, you had to create them from scratch every year. They now have a clone feature. So if you have an existing scenario already under your budgeting scenarios tab, you can clone that if you'd like to, or you can do the old-fashioned way, which was create that from scratch every year. I'm going to start out by cloning this existing scenario for FY22. As you can see, this is a demo account, and we are in August 21, which is fiscal year 22. So we're not quite in the same year we are here, but this is just a demo account. So first of all, I am going to show you something within this existing scenario, and you'll understand a little bit later down the road why I'm showing you this. So if we go into the scenario and we go into the budgets in this scenario, and again, I didn't pull all of the accounts in, I only pulled in a few just for examples. You will notice that you do not see a budget code of 001 1100 111. So in this example, FY22, we didn't have that budget code. So just keep that in mind. We're going to jump back to that budget code here in a little bit. As you can see, when you create a scenario, you put everything in this scenario that you want, all your budgets, all your revenues. You can have multiple budgets if you create spreadsheets and send them out to different departments, like your athletics or your principals. And then they fill out what they want, send you back that spreadsheet. You would upload everything into the scenario. So when you're done, you want all your spreadsheets listed here below. Some treasurers don't do that. Some treasurers complete them themselves. So you may have fewer spreadsheets listed here below. So if you wanted to clone FY22 for your FY23 coming up, you would click on the eyeball. And then right here is the clone button. So we're going to click that. It's going to give you the same box that we just saw, and now you're going to create this for FY23. You can name these whatever you want, whatever makes the most sense for you. Down here is really important. That's where you have to designate what fiscal year you want. This is just for your ease of knowing what the scenario is. This down here tells the system what fiscal year you want this to be placed in. Okay, so now we're going to create. What it's going to do is pop up the box so that you can change any of the filters that were already in the FY22 if you wanted to. For now, I am just going to make these active equals true. I always do that because I don't want to pull in inactive accounts. Then if you go down here to code, fund equals, and we were just looking at that 001 in the examples that I showed you earlier. And then I'm also going to pull in the function. And when you do these, you have different operations that you can use here. So for example, if you wanted to do pull in everything for the 100s like we saw before, you can do it one of two ways. You can pull in a like, and then you could do 1%. That's going to pull in all your 100s. Or you could do it like this. Between, and you could do 100, 1000 function, comma, $1,999. Then that's going to pull in all your function codes for the 1000. So let's just do this. We're going to do the 1100s. And then we're going to do an object. And let's hope this works. Here's also where you could do it for your revenues. We're just going to work on the budgets right now. Save sheet. You're going to say, yes, you want to create this. Oh, it doesn't like something we did here. I don't know why we have that error. All right, let's do this. Let's try it again. It looks better. There we go. It created. But we have two there. So one other quick thing, when you, if you watch the video I sent you out from Amanda, she said to always remember to click save. Anytime you do anything within here, you have to click save. If you don't click save, if you just exit out, anything that you already put in here will not be saved. So let's just do that. Let me show you. If I would hit cancel or just get out of it, look what happens. My 23 is not there. So make sure you do save. And in the video, she did a whole bunch of work and didn't hit save, and it messed up. So there it is. So now I'm going to go back and into the 23 now, and I want to look at the budgets. And remember how I said the 001, 1100, 111 wasn't there? It's still not there. The point I wanted to bring to your attention is when we had FY23, we didn't have that budget code. So now we've cloned it and we have FY22, we didn't have it. Now we've cloned it, we made it FY23 and we still don't have it. But say we're working on our budgets for FY23 and we need to add this new code in. So we go over here, accounts, expenditure, create, and we're going to add that code. Okay. So we already created our scenario for FY23, but we added a code, but it doesn't automatically pull in for you because you've already created this spreadsheet. No 111. So how are we going to get that new code in that we need to pull into the scenarios for budgeting? Right here is a regenerate sheet. So if you click on that, this is going to come up and all you have to do is hit save sheet. It's like refreshing this spreadsheet. What that will do is if you then, after you've created your scenarios, if you've created a new account, it will then pull that in for you. So now if we go in and look, you can see the 111 is here. So at any time, if you've already created your spreadsheets within your scenario and you want to go and add a new account, you don't have to manually type that into your sheet. You can just hit this regenerate button and anything new will get regenerated and pulled in. Also, if you are filtering on the active accounts only, and you decide that way too many are pulling in because you need to go up and maybe clean up a few of them and make them inactive, you can then do the same thing. If you have your spreadsheet created and you go and make some inactive, you can hit this regenerate button again, and it will pull out all those accounts that you've just made inactive. There's one warning I want to give you on the regenerate though. If you go into work and put in your numbers here, if you put in your numbers and you save this sheet, and then you go create a few things and you hit regenerate, it will wipe all these numbers out. So you definitely don't want to have your numbers in and hit that regenerate. It will wipe this all out. So keep that in mind. That's the one warning that the SSDT made very clear in their video. You don't want to lose your work that you've already put in there. And as you can see what I just did, if you're going to work on your budgets or your revenues, you can work right within the redesign. All you have to do is click this edit button. This is a little bit of a newer feature too. You can fill in your numbers here and hit save, or you can download the spreadsheet, save it to your PC wherever you would like. Then you can get out of here, work on your spreadsheet from your PC, and it's probably not going to be on your screen. It's going to open up in a different screen, but let me move it over. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can see it. Then you can work on it here, save it back to your PC. Then when you're ready, go back into your scenarios and upload that new spreadsheet, and it will replace the one that you had in there with no numbers in it. You can do that either way. However, we were talking in the office, and if you need to do detailed work on that spreadsheet, it's probably best to download it, save it to your PC, because when you work on it within right here, the functionality is limited. Like, for instance, if I wanted to sort this column in number order, I can't get it to ascend or descend. If you want to do formulas that are extensive, it probably would be better to download it to your PC and save it and work on it from there and then upload it. But if you have your numbers that you want to fill in, you can just, and you don't want to do that download, you can just fill them in here and save. So there's two options there for that. So what I am actually going to do is I'm just going to plug in a few numbers here. Also, I want to bring to your attention, see the FY23, that is the fiscal year that you will be working on. Like we're working on our proposed amounts for FY23. You want to make sure you see the 23 here. When you're doing budget adjustments for the current year, and in this example, we're in FY22, when you pull the spreadsheet up, it is going to automatically default to the next fiscal year. If you're doing adjustments, you will have to go and change this to 22. It will automatically default to the next fiscal year, which you don't want that to happen. So if you can just put a few numbers in here, whatever you want the 23 to be. Also, these columns are adjustable. When you clone the spreadsheet, it's going to pull in what your last year's spreadsheet looked like. However, you can change these columns to be anything different that you want. There's one prior year back, 2 prior years back, fiscal year encumbered, expendable, encumbered, all of that. So the tweaking of the spreadsheets when they're created is up to you on how you want them and what you want to see. The only thing you don't want to change is column A. That is the ID. That links this code to this ID. So when you promote these into the proposed amounts and then apply them to your budgets, the system knows exactly where to put these dollar amounts for this account code. If you remove this or change this column, your spreadsheet will not load correctly. So that's one column you do not ever want to change. Okay, let me just make sure I covered all the warnings for you.
Edward note.
Okay, come on in, Bree. Jump in.
Hi, this is Bree. One thing I do want to note, Misty did a great job of showing you how you can download that spreadsheet, open it in Excel and work on it at that point. But I do want to caution you when you upload or import that spreadsheet back into your scenario, do not select the regenerate button at that point without the knowledge that you are potentially going to lose the work that you did in that exterior spreadsheet. It is going to regenerate and replace the work that you did with how the system looks at that point, rather than what you entered into your Excel spreadsheet. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with downloading, working in Excel, and then importing that back into the application. But just be mindful when you use that regenerate button in that case. That's all. Thanks.
Yep. I believe it's easier to work on the spreadsheet within the redesign than downloading it. But again, if you if you're going to be working on it, saving it, coming back to it, and that putting in formulas that are a little bit more advanced, need to sort the columns, you're definitely going to want to download it. I'm just going to put in a couple numbers here. Not a very big budget, is it? And accept, and again, save. Can't hit the save button enough. It will hurt nothing. Okay, you would then do that same thing for your revenues. So you're going to have all your budgets, all your revenues in there. Once you have everything completed, all your spreadsheets completed, uploaded into the scenarios, if you have sent them out to the district personnel or have them down on your PC and upload them, everything's in there the way you want. You're going to hit this button right here, which is promote scenarios. When you do that, it takes a minute or two. It's going to take those spreadsheets and then enter that information in proposed amounts. Okay, now we did not put any revenues in there, but I was playing around with it earlier today, so I do have some in there. But these are the numbers that you just watched me enter on that spreadsheet. So now it will sit here in proposed amounts, and you can then go to your board and have that approved if you want. Here's a report button here so that you can generate a report if you need it to take to the board of what you had in your spreadsheets. You can also remove a line from here, edit the dollar amount that you have in that line, or add a new line. If you take this to the board and something is changed, you can work on it with here instead of going clear back to your spreadsheets, updating it, then putting it back into the scenarios and promoting it again. So you do have the flexibility of tweaking anything right here. You want to make sure that you have your fiscal year selected. And then all you need to do is hit apply. This box is going to come up and you have the opportunity to select temporary, permanent, or adjustments. So since we're working for FY23, we would either select temporary or permanent. There's been a lot of questions on the temporary and permanent situation. And what the SSDT kind of says is that temporary and permanent, as the system views it, is kind of the same thing. The difference for the system is that if you post something as temporary and then you want to go back and post something else, an updated temporary version, you can post a temporary, post another temporary, or you can post a temporary and then post a permanent. Once you post something permanent, though, you can't go back and make another temporary adjustment. Once it's permanent, if you need to update something, you have to make it permanent again. So the system doesn't see temporary and permanent as differently as we do, as far as the board is it's temporary until they approve it, then you make it permanent. So if I always just make everything permanent, it would hurt nothing to do that. If there's a change, you would just go back and you would just make it permanent again. Okay, it's going to default to the 7-1, and then you would hit apply. Now, I also found in the documentation that if you go to apply these and your July period has not been created, the system is automatically going to create it for you. A lot of people create months in advance and open them so that future purchase orders can be done. If you don't do that and you close your books and then you create the next month right after you close your books, if that situation is how you handle it, when you do this, if you don't have July open, the system is automatically going to create July for you. And a box will come up and give you a warning that it is creating July. There's another question that we get a lot here in the office, and that is, how can I tell if I created something and made it temporary or made it permanent? If I applied that, which way did I do it? They don't remember. The SSDT is working on an enhancement for that. I believe they told me that it will show in the proposed amounts. There will be a column you can add that will show if it's temporary or permanent, but that enhancement is not out yet. So there is a way that you can do that. The way to do that is to go over to the public library and go down to, there is 2 reports, budget transactions, initial estimates, and revenue transactions, initial estimates. I'm going to click on one of these to show you what the report looks like in the library. And if you look right here under the type, it's going to tell you if it's in a gap initial or a gap adjustment, if it's a temporary, or if it's an initial permanent. So this is a way that you can tell how you applied those. So if you want to upload these into your instance, you would then click on that report, download it. It's going to create a JSON file that you're going to save to your PC. Then you will go back in, you will go to Reports, Report Manager, and say Import. Then you're going to import that JSON. At that time, it gives you a chance to rename that to whatever you may want. I'm just going to leave it the same for now. And then there's that report. If you want to share that report with other people in your office, you're going to click on this icon right here. It looks like a little person. Treasurers are managers. If you want to share that with your budgetary staff, that is going to be USAS standard. And administration would be us here at the ITC. Now you would be able to generate that report and see how those were applied. At this point in time, that is the only way to be able to tell. Okay. That being said, I'm going to go on to how you would create the spreadsheet from scratch. This is where you can tailor your spreadsheets a little more than what was just cloned from the previous year. If you hit create, and we're just going to name this one something different so that we can tell the difference. We'll leave that FY23 and we'll hit create. Again, this is where you're going to have your budgets and your anticipated revenues. You're going to want to do each one individually, and then you're going to want to name this whatever makes most sense to you. If you do send those out to your advisors, you might want to say FY23 budgets for athletics, something like that. And I'm just going to call this test again. I always just leave the selected properties there because that kind of gives you a base. I jump over to configure filters, and everybody's different with how well they work with spreadsheets. So again, if you are having trouble getting a spreadsheet that kind of works for you and you want us to help, Lori and Bree are excellent with spreadsheets. So, just let us know, put a ticket in. We can either help you tweak what you already have. We can jump on a Zoom with you and help you create the spreadsheet with the columns that best fit for you. But this is just going to give you a quick overview because I don't want to get too deep into spreadsheets on this. I want you to see more of the functionality of how scenarios work. So I always pull my active. And it's either true or false. Yes, true. Pull me in all of my active. If you don't, it's going to pull in your active and your inactive, and you're going to be going down in that PA column and looking at account codes that you really don't need to even be worried about because you have already made those inactive. Fund function object, all of that's going to come under the code. If you want to just have all your codes in there, you don't have to sort by anything here other than I would still take your active accounts and make those true. But you don't have to do any more than that if you don't want. If you do want just individual ones to send out, that's where you're going to go here and type in whatever you want your fund to be. So like we did before, fund equals 100. Let's do function I'm gonna try this again. Between. And then again, you can do your object, you can enter full count codes, appropriations. There's a lot to this, as you can see. And even if you expand the carrots, there's a lot you can put into the spreadsheets. It's all dependent on what you want to see, what your is going to make it easier for you to fill in those numbers. Again, just a quick reminder, please don't remove that ID column. Also, while this is calculating, we get a lot of questions in regards to, I don't know how many of you out there are still on know the classic system. Some newer treasurers never had to work in it. The classic system would allow you to increase last year's by a percentage. This system doesn't have that where you click that button and it automatically calculates for you. That's where you have to take the spreadsheet, do a formula, and enter the percentage that you want last year's column to be increased by. And again, if you're unsure of how to do that, please let us know. We can help you get that formula into a spreadsheet so that it will calculate that column for you. So as you can see, here's all of the general fund with the function codes of 400s. Again, this is the PA column where you're going to go down, enter all your figures. We are doing this for our next year. So 23 is what you want that to be. And then you would fill in your dollar amounts and save it. And then do the exact same process. Once you have all of them in that you need, you save this scenario. And then you're going to promote that. And it's going to go to proposed amounts. I will say too, in proposed amounts, once you promote a scenario to proposed amounts, if you then go back and take another scenario and promote it, it's going to overwrite what you already have here. So that's what the SSDT stresses. You only want to take one scenario and promote it to proposed amounts because it's going to overwrite what's sitting here now. Now, if you have information in the proposed amounts and you don't need it, that's fine. Then you can overwrite it if you like. They gave a good example of a situation where you would have two scenarios. One, you would put figures in your budgets and revenues if your levy passes. And the second scenario packet would be created if your levy doesn't pass. Then you would, depending on how that goes, take that scenario and promote it over to here. That's the only time you would have more than one scenario for the fiscal year. If you promote these over and there's a big mistake, you don't want what's in here, you can mass delete if need be. Do I have any questions so far?
Missy, I have a question.
Sure.
So I download it and say I want my 241s to have an increase of whatever our insurance carrier wants, expects our insurance to go up. Do I have to delete those formulas off to the side before I can upload it, or how, like what? I know you can play and do formulas and figure stuff out, but what needs to be gone from that before you upload it back up?
No,
You do not.
you do not have to.
Hold on, come over here, Lori.
Sorry, this is Lori, Dan. You do not have to delete those columns. The ID that's to the left in the
Column
in the
A.
column A there, that is what the system is looking at. So it knows what it needs when it's uploading it back in.
Okay, so if I have a formula out in column S, it won't even look at it.
No, it will not.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Thank you, Trenda. Anybody else have a question? Oh, that was Nan? I'm sorry. Thanks, Nan. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. Now, I know we didn't jump over into the budget side and show you what I promoted over, but I am going to show you when I do adjustments where it shows up at, and you'll see it promoted over. Well, maybe we could do that. Let's see that for a second, because here's what we applied to our budgets. So let's just go over and take a look at a couple. So we got an 001, 1100, 111, 001, 1100, 113. Okay. Now, as you can see right here, it is next year proposed, because we haven't started in July yet. Once you close your June books and open your July, that which is sitting right here will come up here. And one other little quick note, if you can't see it, if your box is too far over, sometimes these numbers you don't see, and you look and you're like, well, where is it? You might have to expand your box. Mine is fine. But when I was watching the training from the SSDT, her box was not expanded far enough, and she couldn't figure out why she couldn't see her numbers. So if that happens to you, expand your box. Then if you wanted to look at the 113s, let's just do that. There's the $200 entered. And again, when you close for the fiscal year, it will then move up into your addition. Okay. I'm going to touch on adjustments now. And there's two ways you can do adjustments. If you just have a few, I personally would not go through the scenario process, because there's a much easier way to do that. Get rid of my sort features. If you go to core, and then you go to your accounts, and then you go to expenditures, and let's say you want to change let's say we want to change the dollar amount in here. Okay, let's look at this one. I'm going to expand the screen for you. Okay. I'm going to say this a couple times because it took me a while to get it in my head. And I hopefully if I say it a couple times, repeat it, it will help you get it into your head too. When you're doing adjustments through core, accounts, expenditures, or revenues, which either way, when you create the adjustment, budget adjustment, create, the amount you enter is going to be the amount you want to increase or decrease by. Okay, so right now we have $1,500 in this line. Okay, I'm going to create an adjustment. It's not an initial, it's going to be an adjustment. Okay, and it defaults to today's date, and I can't use today's date because this is a demo. So I have to use where I'm at in the demo. And let's say that I want this account to only have $500 in it. Okay, there was 1,500. I want it to be 500. I'm going to put negative 1,000. So you enter the amount you want to increase or decrease the amount you have in there by. See that adjustment? And you'll see now we have it 500. So it's 1,500. We made it $1,000 decrease. It is 500. when you do adjustments through scenarios, you want to enter the amount you want your expendable to be. So it's different than this situation. So let me say it one more time. If you're going to go through core accounts, expenditures, or revenues, and you're going to create an adjustment, you're going to enter the amount you want to increase or decrease by.
You're
If
not
you're,
changing what's in the bucket, you're changing the size of the bucket.
you're not perfect, girls. You're not changing what's,
You're not changing what's in the bucket, you're changing the size of the bucket.
okay. So if you're going to do adjustments through scenarios, if you have a bunch, again, if you only have a few, I'm going to go to the core accounts. If you have a bunch and you don't want to go through filter, find each budget line or revenue line, click on the eyeball and enter the adjustment. You want to just enter this all in a spreadsheet and then upload it in. This is how you would do it. So we're going to create, we're going to do and here you need to change this to 22. When we first started the training this morning, I said that this is for your recognition of what's what. You can type anything here. This is more for the system. It tells it what year to apply it in. So adjustments, you want to change that. It's going to default to the next year. It assumes whatever year you're in, that you're working for next year. So it's always going to default to the next year. So be real careful with that. And this is going to look just like we did when we created the initial for next year. Okay. So I'm telling the system I want active accounts for the 300 fund, and I want all the 800 object codes. And we're going to save it and create. We're going to go in and work right within here.
And you have to change.
Again, you have to change that to 2022. That part always scares me when I go to work on these things because I don't ever want to forget to change that. So we're going to go down and put a few figures in here. It will tell you what is in here now, encumbered, unencumbered, and you can work from there. So I want to make this 0. I'm not going to fill in all of them. I just wanted to give you an example of a few. Save this. And save again.
Go ahead.
Okay. So now we have all our adjustments in here that we want to do. We're going to promote that.
Oh, before you do, just want to say, sorry, this is Bree. I just want to jump in here before she promotes this and just point out that if you do that, and now you want to go back in and make another adjustment, say you've made some changes within the system and you wanted to say regenerate your spreadsheet, whenever you do the budget adjustment and hit that regenerate, it's going to change that last PA column back to the default date, which is the next fiscal year. So anytime you update your adjustment spreadsheet with the regenerate button, make sure you go back and change that proposed amount year back to what it should be.
And she is talking about right here, and ours
Yeah.
is still 2022 because we didn't hit the regenerate button. But if we had to, because we added accounts or whatever, you hit the regenerate, make sure you go back and change that.
That'll cause problems.
So we're going to promote these. We're going to select the fiscal year. And there they are. Again, you can tweak these in any way you want. You can create a few more if you want. You can delete one out. You can modify the dollar amount that you have in one of them. Okay, so now we're going to, you don't have to check mark the boxes to hit apply. If you check mark the box, you can't hit apply. So you're just going to go straight to apply. We're going to say these are adjustments. And I have to fill in the date that I am in the demo here. It takes a minute. Okay. Now we're going to
Lori's
go.
got-
Go ahead.
No.
You sure? Okay. I want the 4 5s. Then I want the 8s. Okay. So the first one we did was a 345.11, 841. I wanted that to be 0. There was $75 in there. So I put 0 in that column and now it's 0. The next one I did was 45.13. And I put $500 in there. I thought I did. 45.13, 841. Oh, okay, hold on. Let me go back and look. Let's go back and look. I guess I did put $500 in there, did I? Did you guys watch me put $500 in there?
No, you did 150, Missy, because
I
I wrote
did.
that one. I wrote that one down on my paper. Like, I need to see what she's doing here.
Okay, well, thank you, Roxanne. Okay, so
It's
150.
Friday. It's Friday. Let's go home.
Okay, all right, there's 150, 200, and 4,000. Okay, let me make sure I write these down now. So we did the 300, 45, 13, 841, 300, 45, 16, 841, 300, 45, 22, 841. 150, 200, 4,000. Oh, that's good. There's the 150. Then we're going to do 45.16. There's the 200. Now I put 4,000 in there. That moved, that 4,000 goes here. And the reason this looks different is because we had encumbrances. Okay. So the other examples, when I put in the 200, there was no encumbrance in there. So it changed that amount to 200. But because this one had encumbrances, it changed that initial budget amount of 3,000 to 4,000, subtracted off our encumbrances and gave us our remaining balance.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna, because the way you're saying it, it's not clear to me, so I'm gonna say it the way I think it looks like.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so the 4,000 is what you wanted it to be. You had previously, I'm looking at it as you'd previously already done an adjustment of 1,000.
Mm,
No.
And that's why it brought the initial budget amount to 3. Because you had 4,000 entered.
what the system is doing is I entered 4,000 and it makes the adjustment for you. Okay. What did I enter 4,000?
Okay, now I see, got it.
It puts the
Now I
it puts that 4,000 in the expendable. The system does the calculation for you in this example,
Yeah, and so therefore then it'll show in adjustments.
right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
The
got
amount
it
you
now.
enter shows in your expendable.
okay, got
Then
it.
it-
So
it-
previous, like that 150 that you did, apparently, there wasn't ever anything in there to begin with.
Right.
So I was wondering why nothing was showing on the adjustment line. Now I get it. I get it now.
You got, let's just take a look at one of these other ones here. So let me click on the eyeball so we can do this. Okay, so there was nothing in this one. So,
You made no adjustment there.
oh, I didn't make the adjustment on that one. Let's go to the other one. Which one did I do? 45. Was it this one?
Nope.
4513, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. But it didn't have anything.
It didn't have anything.
have anything.
Yes, it didn't have anything. It had
The
0.
original budget should show 0 with an adjustment.
It should, but it didn't. It went right into the initial. Let's go back and double check us. The 150 was 4513, 841. Okay. So it's putting it as an initial, and I don't think it should. I think it should put it in as an adjustment.
I agree.
Could that be because you had the box selected for full year? When you applied your adjustment, you put in your effective date. When you promoted this.
Yeah.
you Put in your effective date.
And there's the 150.
There was a little selection box underneath that said full year, and you left that as it defaulted with the box checked.
Well,
Let me get into the guidelines.
let me
Look
do
ahead.
something. Let's do something. Let's try that. Did you guys hear what Bree said about the full year? There
I
was
did, yeah.
Okay, let's do this. There's what I took from my scenarios and put to proposed amounts.
Mhm.
I'm going to promote it again.
Mhm.
Okay, so proposed amounts. Pick our year. All right, so that's the 4513. Okay, see, there's a, let's do something real quick. I want to go and clear that out of the budget accounts. Just I want to see how it applies now. So 4513, let's clear that out real quick. Oops, sorry guys.
Yes, when that transaction type is checked,
That's it. Okay, Bree said that's it, but let's test it.
So when that box is checked, which it will always be checked by default for the full year, it updates the original gap, original estimate amounts.
Okay, let's do
gap.
that. The gap though.
The gap.
It's not
If
gonna
you
let
do
me
not wish
X
it,
that out though.
uncheck that box.
It's not letting you revert.
It's
that
not gonna let
because
me
you made it,
reverse that transaction because it made it an initial.
Right,
Shoot, well,
change a different one.
let's do this. Yeah, let's do a different one. Let me see.
What are those other zeros?
Let me see if there's anything in any of these. Okay, let's do 4137. 4137, 841, 9302, and then there's a 300.
What's the bottom?
Okay. So let's just do this. This is a really good example. I'm just going to do this so that we can prove our point here. I'm just going to create one. I'm not going to go clear back to the scenarios. 300 hyphen 1137 841. Okay. 22. We'll just put in $100. Okay, there it is. Now I am going to apply that. As an adjustment. It doesn't let you uncheck full year.
Update the gap. You have to have update.
Update the gap. I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think you should have to. I don't think that's going to work either. And if that's the case, Roxanne, I'm going to put a ticket in because I don't think that should go in as an initial.
I don't do gap, yay.
I know, but I just want to say,
But
I
I
know.
would think it should show,
In any chance she gets.
yeah, I think it should be an adjustment. It should show in the adjustment line so that you know that it was an adjustment. Yeah,
but it's not. Well, it
yeah,
does
there.
here. It does.
The initial budget is 0.
Yeah.
It just changed the gap original budget.
Yep.
Okay.
But you shouldn't have to check that box for it to go into the adjustments. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
You checked the gap box on that one.
I did. But like Roxanne doesn't do gap. So she would never check that box. So it should. I'm trying one more thing because now it's bothering me. Okay. So we're back to nothing in there. I'm not going to check the gap. Why do I keep doing that? I keep doing it. There we go. It goes in as an adjustment. I swore it went in as an initial before.
It did.
It did. You saw it.
That 150, go back to the one that was 150.
Go back to the 150.
Yeah, go back to the one that was had the 150 in it.
Do you remember which one that was?
One of those two, those on the, yeah,
4513.
maybe. Yeah, that's it. Go to the, where it shows the audit trail of what you did to this.
Oh, okay. To get to that, you need to click on the eyeball.
Okay. Is that the date you used? 7/1/2021, is that the date you used?
That would be not for adjustments.
That's not the date you used for your adjustment,
Nope.
but that's the date it's got in there.
That's the date it puts it in because it said it put it in as an initial.
Yeah, but you didn't process that adjustment on that date.
Mm-mm. Let me look at one more. 4516. See, it keeps putting it in as the initial there though.
And look at its budgeting
452.
Look at its budget adjustments.
I'm gonna play around with this a little bit more, you guys.
Yeah, because that's not
Because-
even the date you used.
No, I'm gonna play around with this a little bit more on the adjustments. Because you guys saw too, Roxanne, you're even writing down the account cards for me. So let me play around with this. And I'm gonna send an email out to you guys after I talk to the SSDT about that. Because if you do an adjustment through scenarios, and you had nothing in that line, that budget line, and it's an adjustment mid-year, it's not your initial, it should go in as an adjustment, not in as the initial. So let me play with that and talk to them because I don't like that. And I will send an email out to everyone, all treasurers, even if they aren't on this training, and give you the answer that they gave me and let you know for sure. Because that's not right. Okay. Let's ask for any questions. Anybody put any on the chat? No questions? Anything else I can cover? No? Okay.
No, good refresher. I appreciate it.
Yep,
'Cause I'm thinking now I don't have to pull that documentation out to get to it.
Yeah. Again, if anybody wants to do an individual to work on the spreadsheets and we can walk through it, no problem. One other thing I will point out real quick too is that if you would like us to spin up an instance of your, it's like a playground. It would be your school district's budgetary instance, and you can play with this in there without hurting anything. It's exact copy, but it's not your live files. You want to play around in here to feel more comfortable, just let us know. It takes a few minutes to spin one up, and then you can go in and do whatever you want, and your live files aren't touched. The only thing I will warn you is when you do that, the only way to tell if you're in your live files versus the playground is up here. It's going to say, it doesn't say demo. What does it say, girls? Test. Okay. Test or train. That is the only way you'll know you're not in your live files. Everything else here is going to look the exact same. So if you would request that, I will just give you that little warning. It looks identical to your live file. So when you're in there playing, make sure you're in the right place. And that's what there's how you will be able to tell. Okay. It takes a few minutes to spin up, then you can play all you want and you can feel more comfortable before you would actually do this in your live files. So all you got to do is let us know. We can do that for you too. Any questions? Okay.
Nope. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too.